Marcelo Mayer finally got his call up by the Boston Red Sox. Who exactly is this highly regarded prospect? You're about to find out on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's completely free, so you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Welcome to the show where there's big breaking news among Red Sox Nation that highly regarded prospect Marcelo Mayer has officially been called up to the Boston Red Sox. Now, the reason was not necessarily simply just because he was playing well enough and the Red Sox were convinced and they were like, okay, let's give him a shot. But a spot did open up because Alex Bregman, unfortunately, is likely going on the injured list. He did leave the Red Sox game yesterday at Fenway Park due to right quad tightness, and he wanted to test his injury this morning, and the results weren't great. He basically said it's worse than I thought, and Alex Cora reported that. So then he said, let's see what the MRI shows, and we'll go from there. Cora didn't necessarily confirm it, but he did admit that it was likely Bregman would land on the injured list. So the Red Sox anticipated that they would need to make some sort of move, and he did note, Alex Cora, that all options from both the majors and minors would be considered regarding who plays third base. And the chances are likely now that because they have Nick Sogard here also, as well as Marcelo Mayer, they'll be able to do a little bit of shifting here when it comes to who's playing where. But the good news about Marcelo Mayer is that he has taken reps at both second base and third base in Worcester on top of his regular position, which is shortstop. Woo Sox manager Chad Tracy has talked to me about Marcelo and his game and what exactly he brings to the table, and mentioned the fact that the plan was going to be for him to take reps at both second base and third base. That's exactly what they have been doing with him, and he's been able to grow tremendously in both of those positions. Really heavily power hitter. Hits a lot of deep balls to deep parts of center field at Polar Park, and he has really good footwork defensively with a really good stance to be able to make lots of really solid, strong plays when the ball gets hit to him in the infield. So from a defensive perspective, he'll be able to provide a lot there as well. Who exactly is Marcelo Mayer? He's a hard worker. He grinds every single day. He's also super humble. He's a guy who I've gotten to know pretty well in Worcester this year, and he's somebody who I've had an absolute pleasure getting to know because he has always just focused on the moment that he was in, not worrying too much about the future or the opportunities in front of him, but rather where he was at in that specific moment. So take a listen to a recent conversation that I had with Marcelo about how he was approaching the season and what he's trying to do to get better this year.
How are you feeling about the season? You had a pretty big spring, so that was really nice to see, as somebody who has been following your career since you've been with the Red Sox. How did your spring make you feel about your confidence this year?
I'm really excited for this season. I worked really hard this offseason to get my back right, to get my body in a good position. I think for me, more so than just playing well, I was really happy to be on the field again. And I'm super excited for this season.
100%. Yeah, I know. I hope you are, because your numbers this spring were really good. Yeah. Obviously you are so close to being at that level. What do you think it's going to take for you to get to that level, possibly at some point this season or maybe even?
I don't know. I think a lot of that has to do with the roster that we have up in the big league squad. Yeah. And all that stuff is really out of my control. So the biggest thing for me is just staying ready for whenever my opportunity comes.
How do you feel about being in the Red Sox organization? I mean, such a historic franchise with so much success over the years. How does that make you feel?
It's awesome. I mean, it's not every day that someone that's such a high pick gets to play in an organization like this, and I consider myself very lucky to be in a winning org like this.
So the biggest thing about Marcelo that I really appreciate is his ability to just never stress over the little things. And from my experience with covering him in Worcester this year, one thing that I've really noticed about him that has stood out is that if he has a rough game at the plate, he goes 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, for example, or he's just not really seeing the ball well that day, he comes back the very next day with a completely different attitude, new day. And I specifically remember one day when I was in the Woo Sox clubhouse and they were just doing their typical pregame thing with the players. They like to play their ping pong and they like to play their card games, which, by the way, they do get very competitive with. And it was Marcelo and a couple other players chilling. And he was asked by one of his teammates, how are you feeling today? We have 2 games. It's a double header. This should be a long day. And Marcelo was like, it's just another day. Word for word, that's what he said. It's just another day. Just going to stay locked in and treat it like it's any other day. We have 2 games, but I'm going to give 100% in both games. And that's the thing about him is he's so down to earth and isn't even fazed by things like that at all. So definitely has the work ethic and the drive to succeed at the major league level. He could use a little bit more work on some of his swing decisions. That's something that I think he could struggle with a little bit in the majors. But overall, he's a good overall player with a lot of decisions that he makes in game that are the right ones. So certainly a high baseball IQ. And Woo Sox manager Chad Tracy definitely echoed the sentiment of how talented Marcelo Mayer is, because I also spoke with him as well about Marcelo and his game. Take a listen to that now.
For me right now, he looks more comfortable at second than third. I think he's been fine at all 3, but I think he's really trying to cut distance at third base, on throws he fields, and it's just a different angle when you pick it up and kind of look across. So he's sometimes taking extra steps to cut distance. That just takes time to get used to. But the seconds, it's still in the middle of the field, just over here. Yeah. So his comfort playing in the middle carries him over there just fine. So, and obviously he's great at short. So we got to keep exposing him to both of those once a week and let these different plays find him and let him get comfortable with his footwork. I think the internal clock's different. I mean, there's challenges each one. If you go short to second, all of a sudden you're turning double plays blind, right? That's the shortstop, you're coming across, you can see the runner. Second base, now you're coming this way and somebody's bearing down and you can't see. So you're turning double plays at a completely different angle and a little bit more blind. Third base, the internal clock has to be a little different, right? You're kind of playing halfway. Sometimes the ball gets on you. Sometimes it's a slow roller. Sometimes you get it in plenty of time, but there's more distance to cover. So it's and you're at a steeper angle. So it's just things like that you have to get used to when you play shortstop for so long. To your point, and your internal clock is just built into you. Now you go over to third, and it's closer. But there's different plays. Closer could mean you have to go, more time. Other times you have to drop step, and you actually have to go faster because the play's driving you away, and it's a longer throw. So all of those things take some getting used to. But he's such a good athlete. He'll pick up on that stuff. I think if there's players that have played in the middle of the field, that they tend to, at least when they go over to field the ball, they tend to adjust fairly quickly because they're used to playing deeper and in the middle of the field. But I also think, for Marcelo, third base is not a huge thing because then there's the aspect of left side versus right side. If you're used to playing on the left side of the infield, moving over to third, yes, it's a hot corner now, but you're still used to seeing the ball come off the bat at that angle versus going over to the other side. That's the one thing I worry about sometimes with guys that are maybe used to playing third or on the left side. Hey, we're going to try him at first, and it's a completely different angle and a lot closer to the ball. So there's all those things. Hey, Jim. All those things go into it depending on the player and their comfort level with it.
Is this the plan for Marcelo generally moving forward? Is to just continue to try to have him play? Okay.
Mostly short, right? But we're gonna try every week to get him to second once and get him to third once, just so he continues to get exposure at those 2 spots.
So there you have it. That's Marcelo Mayer. I mean, the Red Sox are getting a really special talent in this guy, and there's a reason that he's highly regarded as one of the best prospects in baseball right now because he does a lot of the little things right, even his on-field decision-making, like I talked about, and knowing the right play to make at the right time. And at the plate, just always approaching each at-bat super aggressively and just looking to swing for the fences a lot. And he has a lot of power, and he also knows when to not swing for power and just try to swing for contact. So he definitely has a lot of those basics down that you really need to succeed as a Major League Baseball player. I'm really excited to see him up with the Major League team. When I tell you this kid is nothing short of a really pleasurable person to speak with, I really do mean that. Red Sox Nation, I promise, will fall in love with him. And us here in Worcester will be rooting for him as he makes his way to the Boston Red Sox and hopefully gets the opportunity to play in Game 2 of the Red Sox doubleheader here today against the Baltimore Orioles. I'm Gabby from Locked On Red Sox. Be sure to tune in Monday through Friday for more Red Sox content.